From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parashat Shemot, Moshe's near-death experience. Find this really bizarre story. It's one of the most unusual stories in all of the Chumash. And it goes as follows. Vahi b'derech b'malon, when Moshe was on his way, presumably to the land of Egypt to do his mission, Vayivkasheu Hashem, God bumped into him, Vayivakesh hamito, and he tried to kill him. Now, in the Midrash, there is a debate as to whether he tried to kill Moshe or he tried to kill his son. Why would you think it's his son? Because the next pasuk says that the antidote to this near-death experience was Tzipporah. She took a rock and she gave a bris to her son and she threw it to his feet, again, ambiguous, perhaps Moshe's feet, perhaps the boy's feet, and she said that you are a groom of blood. Again, some interpret that the baby is a groom of the milah, of the bris, of blood, or that the husband is somehow a groom of blood. And then Azamra Chatan Damim Amlot. And she said he was a groom of circumcision. Well, very strange. How could it be? How could it be? One of the Gaonim, Shemot ben Chofni, he says, how could it be that someone who's sent to be the savior of the Jewish people, God also wants to kill him? It doesn't make any sense. Does he want to kill him or does he want him to be the Mashiach? Which one is it? Which one is it? If you look in Tanakh, this idea that God tried to kill an important leader, someone heading out to do important things, we find this 4, if not 5 times in Tanakh. Yaakov was met vayavek ishimo, and a person who was actually an angel was wrestling with him. It's not quite this image of tried to kill him, but what's going on? Is the angel trying to stop him? What's going on? Moshe Rabbeinu, vayavakesh hamito, God tried to kill him. Now, there's another story that could be similar. Bilam. The angel, charbosh lufa biyado. The angel had a sword in his hand, and he went out to greet and to perhaps smite Bilam. Interesting. Yehoshua also has an encounter. Charbosh lufa biyado. He meets an angel, and he lifts up his eyes and he sees the angel, and he says, and there's a man standing there, and he says, he's a Tsar Tzva Hashem, he's a warrior of God. And the rabbis say, oh, what was the problem? What did Yehoshua do wrong? Why did Yehoshua ask him if he was with us or against us? What was this? Either he had failed to engage in Torah study, or perhaps he had failed to engage in procreating. In any event, Joshua also had a challenge of an angel coming, looked like almost to kill him. And then you have David HaMelech. David HaMelech, we find that at the end of Shmuel, but also more explicitly at the end of Divrei Hayamim, at the end of Divrei Hayamim Aleph, in chapter 21, he says there that again, there was an angel that they saw in the heavens, Charbosh lufa biyado, Nituya al Yerushalayim. There was an angel that was ready to destroy Jerusalem. His sword was raised over Jerusalem. What did he do wrong? Yoav told him, the general told him, don't count the Jews, it's a sin. And David counted the Jews. It was an act of hubris. And for that, David was almost destroyed. How are we to understand all these cases? Actually, the Rashbam also kind of puts some of them together. He mentions Moshe, and another case of someone trying to run away from his mission, Yonah. Yonah runs away from his mission. Moshe, Yonah, and Yaakov. Yaakov was also perhaps running away from confronting his brother Esau, running away from coming back to the land of Israel. And he's confronted by the angel. And I'd like to put these together: Yaakov, Moshe, Yoshua, and David, and perhaps Bilam as well. What are these all about? What does this represent? The Ktav HaKabbalah rabbi from Germany, he had an interesting thought. He says, similar to Yonah, Rashbam connects. Yonah tried to run away, and he was sent into the belly of a fish. Moshe tries to run away, and just like Yonah said, I give up. Tov moti mechai, I want to die. I can't take it. Vayevakesh hamito, he suggests that Moshe couldn't take it anymore. He wanted to die. If you find that strange, don't forget, in one of the conversations he had with God, he says, Hargeni naharog. He says, kill me, rather than to destroy the Jewish people. That's another interesting interpretation. Finally, I'd like to suggest the notion of the impossibility of representing God on earth. Yaakov is inscribed on the throne of God. Moshe spoke to God mouth to mouth. Joshua is given the task of bringing the Jews to the land of Israel. He is a messianic figure of sorts. He is the first conqueror of Israel, the great conqueror of Israel. And David, no less, has to reconquer Israel after it falls into the hands of the Philistines. He has to sit on the throne of God, as we say. Solomon sat on the throne of God. He has to establish a throne for God in Jerusalem. He's the holy Messiah in Jerusalem, next to the temple, establishing the temple. He has to build a temple. All these things are impossibilities. You can't be on the throne of God. You can't be the Savior of Israel. You can't sit on the throne of God. You can't build a temple for God. It's impossible. And Bilam, too, in some strange way, he can't be a prophet of God, an emissary of God. And certainly, if you're trying to run away, perhaps Yaakov was trying to run away. He went in the opposite direction. He brought his family this way. He went that way. Perhaps Moshe is trying to delay, stall, maybe run away. And Yehoshua, something was delayed. Something wasn't right. He wasn't perhaps the Moshe Rabbeinu that he was supposed to be. And David, with all that he did, here he was counting in an act of hubris, straying from his mission. He hadn't yet found the Temple Mount, and through this, he finds the Temple Mount. When a person tries to be in a godlike position, a position that there are individuals who occasionally are asked to do these Herculean things, these to represent God on earth, Yaakov, Moshe, Yoshua, David, it's an impossibility. They cannot exist. It can't be. Yonah says, I can't take it. I can't take that burden. Masar, Rabbi Salvation describes that the prophecies are described as a burden. It's something on your shoulders. How do you do it? How do you lift the entire Jewish world? How do you save the whole Jewish world? How can you be a Jacob on the throne of God? How can you be a Moshe to stand before Pharaoh and represent God? How do you do it? In some ways, the angel came to say, you can't do it. You're human. It can't be done. And that with that act of humbling the Savior then becomes a Savior because he knows man is not God. One of the major tenets of Jewish faith, man is not God. He's just a representative, just an emissary. He's just not here in a shlichus, on a representative mission. As such, each one had an encounter, a near-death encounter. Each one of us, though, has a small mission here in life as well. How do you do it? The angel comes and reminds the person, really, we don't deserve any of this. We don't deserve to have that role. At that point, the person regains their humility, regains their composure. Moses is able to go back to his place of humility. Jacob is able to realize that it's tough, but he can do it. Yoshua is challenged to rise to the level of Moshe. And David is asked to humble his spirit. Yes, he's the leader of all the Jewish people who knows how many myriads. But his role is to remain the humble servant of God that we know and love from the Tehillim, from the Psalms. This very strange episode, God trying to kill the very messenger that he's sending, is an act of correction. It's the notion that, yes, he's the Savior, but no, he's not the superhuman or above human Savior. He is very much, as Moshe always wanted to be, anav mikol adam, humble, at some level, undeserving of this great role and burden of being the prophet of God, being representative of God here on earth. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation for a discussion of this fascinating Parshat Shemot. Join us each week for the discussion of the various Parshiot, various holidays, and we have how-to videos as well. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit ASBEE.org.